Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, my beautiful souls, and welcome to another day of Soul Healing Summit Season 3, where you get to find your healing modality, where you get to find the person that is right for you. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Nan Akasha. She's a spiritual teacher, a master, a light body and shamanic healer, animal and dolphin communicator and seer. Author of 7 books and hundreds of online programs, Akasha has the uncanny ability to see right to the core of your challenge. She's called a fairy godmother by her students and is certainly a dolphin whisperer by me. Welcome, beautiful. How are you today?
Thank you, sweetie. I'm wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Had my ocean swim this morning, got to channel some beautiful energies in our live stream. So it's a magical day.
Mm. What the audience doesn't know is right as we're ready to record, and that's why the energy is so powerful. As I was losing my words, is that the subject of spiritual misguidance has come to the surface a lot. And there you go, the voice goes away.
Mm, mm,
The first question, there you go. The first question that comes from the collective is, how does a person really know what is the right path for them?
mm. Beautiful. You have to unhook from all of the other opinions. You don't know what's right for you unless you're listening to your own inner voice. And you may be on the path for 25 years and you have certain ways of hearing your inner voice or trusting your guidance, but it's nothing compared to what's unfolding now. Our evolution is so fast that we're exponentially opening to more of our 360 senses. And we have to align with our inner authority in order to really know what is optimal for me. So, the best thing to do now is to continuously hold the mantra aligned for what is my highest good and optimal at this time. So, asking the right questions. Is this good for me? Should I do that? You can't do that. Should and good are subjective. If you want clear guidance and you want it to come through to you, to your heart, into your vision, into your feelings in your body and memories that are coming in a TV or a billboard or a bird that flies by, everything is speaking, but it's really the oneness of you, the infinite self, your soul self, the blueprint, and your ego or personality self. So you have to decipher which one is which when it comes forward. We can have cravings, we can have these inner beliefs and fears that are still blocking us from trusting, that makes us hold on to a job that we is making us sick, right? Or a relationship. So your inner voice, how do you know what is optimal for you? You continuously say, you cleanse and clear yourself and you align to what is optimal for your highest good at this time. And this is how you avoid burnout, kundalini awakenings that blow out, certain circuits and create a difficult transition. This aligns you to those guides that you could hear from right now at the level you're at. If you're in grief or regret, if you're in shame or misery, if you feel stuck or angry, even part of the time. So the inner voice is inside of the pain. It's inside of what you fear. It's inside of you. So you go within, you go inside there, and you keep asking for what's optimal. And is this optimal? And every step of the way. So my house, I called to it. I didn't want to own any more houses. Owned a lot of houses, went through years of just moving and flowing and renting. And then one day I'm on the beach and my daughter says, why don't you buy a house on the beach? It could be a shack. You don't care. You just want the beach. So I started to say, what is optimal for me? Is there a sanctuary there for me? What is the place? And then I go look at things. So you take action, you get in flow and movement, you make it possible for spirit to give you intersections, to show you infomercial 7 nights in a row. I had that happen to me about something. I never would buy something off an infomercial. I ended up doing it, and it was one of the best things I ever did in my life. But the communication is always from your inner authority. if it's making you feel expanded, but you might feel fear because you're going out of your comfort zone. So it's refining your ability to understand what that message is from. But always, if you feel pressured, it's not right. If you feel not resistance because you have to leave your comfort zone, but if you feel something is wrong because someone else wants it, you're trying to appease someone, this is what people are waking up to. What energy is that decision attached to? And then the process unfolds, because when you go towards, I want to connect to what's optimal for my highest good at this time, then you're in the moment looking, well, what is it? Where is it? What is it? How does it feel? I don't know if that's it. I'll try it. And then the feedback comes, well, it was sort of it, but then what? And you start, that's your path. And then any blocks you have show up on that path. So you stay in alignment with that.
Be so present in a moment. As you're sharing this towards the end, I literally had this visual of, like, you have different neighbors. And if you look at yourself from the past, that's one neighbor, right? If you look at yourself from the future, that's another neighbor. And we're constantly looking at our neighbors' yards for answers. But the fact that the matter is, that person from the future is not here yet. The person from the past is no longer here. You are here. And every answer, today you might have an answer, a week from now you might have a different answer, because we're constantly changing and evolving as your teachers, as your guides, and as your healing modalities.
Well, also, you have to remember that it doesn't happen as much anymore because we're spiritually stronger and more mature than we used to be. But in the 40 years or so that I've been doing this kind of work, is people would make an appointment and then they'd call, because it was only phone back then. And the phone call didn't connect on the first call. So they would say, oh, I guess it's not meant to be. Right? They would use any block in their path as a sign or a symbol. They shouldn't do it. And that's applying our conditioned mind to spiritual guidance. And now you have an opportunity to move past that. And it's going to accelerate your process of unhooking from the good opinion of others and get everybody else out of your head and start to learn your own inner language.
Because our higher self and our spirit, like, finds every possible way good. You want to have a joyful life and achieve spiritual growth, that's good. You want to suffer and have spiritual growth, that's good too. They're both good because you're going to get there. It's just a
We're here to
matter
deliver.
what is your experience in the process. I want to get to the dolphins, and I feel so connected to that. Dolphins and whale sounds, for me specifically, it's always activating when I hear those sounds. Can you please share how they awaken within you, and how can you channel that to help your clients?
Yes. So I love that you asked. Can I call you the Dolphin Whisperer? um, it's wonderful. Yes, the dolphins have, I'm a Flipper girl. If anybody's old and you remember the show Flipper, little boys had a Flipper as a pet. He was wild, but he was their pet and went on adventures and everything. So I'm a fish. I was always in water. I've been a mermaid type of little girl, and fairy and magic and all of that. And so when I was younger, it was just something. I never got near a dolphin, but I loved every aspect of it. Then I went through 8 years of trying to become pregnant, and I didn't know I was pregnant, and I went on a wild dolphin swim. And so she was with me. Later, she died. So that's a very powerful connection for me, is through my daughter, Jordan Ann. And I painted everything in her room, in her nursery, with dolphins. And they called me from the desert. I was living in New Mexico. Then I had dreams with them. They connected me with the lady who was doing the trip through my friend who was an animal communicator. So I started my spiritual journey with animals. Everything in my life fell apart. I worked really hard, built this big fashion design business, made $1 million the first year. 3.5 years later, I'm closing it because everybody went bankrupt and no one paid me. I had no spiritual idea of any of the stuff we talk about now. And I just thought the world was over. I was a loser, and everything was terrible. So I left LA and went to New Mexico, and I just started going, what's weird? What's different? And the first book that I found, I bought Shirley MacLaine's book, Out on a Limb. And then I went to a bookstore that I found out about in her book called the Bodhi Store, and I don't think it's there anymore, the Bodhi Tree. And they had a little building in the back full of used, weird spiritual books. They had every kind of spiritual book you could imagine. And at that time, there's no internet, nothing. So it was like a treasure trove. It was in LA. And I walked in and I'm just walking around. I don't know what any of this stuff means. And the book that I see is Dolphins from Another Planet, channeling dolphins from another planet.
Oh,
And all I thought was, that's the weirdest thing I've heard. I'll take it. It was just like, I didn't know where to look. I had no religious upbringing, really. I had no spiritual clue at all. And everything else that I believed fell apart. And so it was one of those moments where I read that book, and then they started coming in my dreams, and I would swim in my pool for exercise in circles in the high desert. And they would come and swim with me. And then I met the animal healer, Linda Tellington Jones. I started training with her and met radionics practitioners and animal communicators and all kinds of wonderful, amazing people. And my world just kept unfolding. And I started a pet sitting business because I didn't want to be around people. And I took care of everything from buffaloes and snakes to cats, dogs, and horses. And it was this unbelievable awakening because of the unconditional love that animals hold. And I didn't know where to put what had happened to me. Nobody had ever said, your whole life can fall apart. You did everything right, but it didn't work out. And there's some underlying meaning to it. I had none of that. So working shaman would show up, and this lady who took dolphin trips to the desert. I mean, from the desert to the Bahamas. So when I was there, I'm a good swimmer, but every day after the wild dolphin swim, people would say, I didn't get to be near the dolphins much. We'd just sit around on the boat. They'd come. We couldn't see land. We were out there for 5 days. Very unglamorous boat. But someone say dolphins. We'd put on our, fins and our masks, and we'd jump in and we'd play with the dolphins for an hour or so, as long as they wanted to stay. And they were always around me. And sometimes I was in the middle of their pod, and I could go like this and imagine I was one of them. And everybody would say, oh, just look for her, look for her. They're always with her. So when I got back, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, Jordan. And then later on, I came here. Everything fell apart in my life again. And I ended up coming to Mexico because of a friend of mine who was getting married here. And we had decided to get rid of everything and start to travel and live around the world. Chris and I had both done that before. And my daughters were finally moved around for college, and we're near each other and everything like that. So we came down to Quintana Roo, came down to Playa del Carmen for 2 months. And the first thing that happens 3 days after I'm here is I'm on a phone call, a sales call, basically, because I was doing a live retreat workshop. I just changed it from California to Mexico, on how to present yourself on stage, how to tell your story on stage, if you are sharing who you are or you're sharing what you do, and how to make it see the symbols and the patterns in your life and see how you were perfectly designed for this point. So I talked to this lady about it, and she really wasn't interested in that, but she owned this dolphin center, and she was an energy healer, and the dolphins came to her. So as we talked, the more we opened up that way. And a few days later, I'm out for the whole day on Isla Mujeres with these dolphins, getting to kiss them and touch them and play and have free time together. And I left the planet. It was not a good day. The elections had just happened. It was very upsetting. And I left the planet. I didn't think about anything in reality. And the thing about dolphins is that they get the opportunity to scan you, to send you sonar messages, to shift your frequency, to rewire things, to heal nerves and other physical damage, brain and other emotional blocks. They reconnect you to your soul purpose. They can see if you've had surgery, and they can see energetically where you're blocked in your field. I can see energy, so I watch them because we work with them. I spent about 1.5 years going every Friday to when this paraplegic was brought in, Patty, and they'd bring her in the water with the dolphins, and they'd bring the dolphin up, and they would put the dolphin around different parts of her body, and the dolphin would shoot energy. Sometimes you could hear it. It was like a machine gun. And sometimes it was just really gentle. And then I came in, started doing light body healing on her and with the dolphins, and I could see what they were doing. And they can turn their volume. They might send little tiny pearls, or they might be like a laser, or they might send these waves that come up through you and create different patterns. And when we're there doing our healing meditation, they take photos of us. We float around for an hour, and they're free to do whatever they want. And you look at the pictures afterwards, and they're at your head, and they're under here, and they're there, and there's two of them at two different sides, and I can see that they're working together energetically to rewire, to reknit different parts of you and your soul. So they're so relevant. They've been on the planet almost as long as the whales. They're ancient beings. They're multidimensional beings. They have two giant brains. They never sleep. They always have one brain awake at a time. And they're working with the oceans. They're working with the energies, but they're also aware of their spirit being and their collective consciousness. So we get a lot of channelings on my shows with the dolphins. The rainbow dolphin realms came in. I didn't know that existed. Crystal dolphins, moon dolphins, and all these different layers of the consciousness. And of course, they come from Sirius and Pleiades. And there's all these different mystical aspects. There's historical aspects. There's the physical aspect that they're filled with joy and they raise your brain to bliss. So it's been literally, I couldn't have written it. I wouldn't have believed that if I said, I want to live near dolphins that I can kiss and hug once a week and do healing work, um, or be invited, by somebody, special to get to go do things normal people don't do. We get to do healing work, we get to do play, we get they get to tell us what to do, and they love to play ball, and they just sometimes come up and want kisses, and we do heart to heart, and we do third eye openings with them. And they're telling me the whole time, I'm not saying that it's good for everyone to be in captivity, situation by situation,
That
but
was gonna be my
these,
next question
yeah,
is what's the part of a dolphin that is actually in a controlled situation versus one that you find in the
yeah.
wild?
The difference is that they're sentient beings. They've decided they want to work together with people. And when they originally called the lady who started this 30 some 40 years ago, they came to her and they said, we need to connect with people. We cannot take this. They create a net in the water. They keep the frequency high to help us keep purifying the past and the pain and all of the subconscious low states of consciousness that we're evolving out of. They're here
Wow.
to continuously raise the frequency. When I see is they throw a crystal net around us. So they'll be coming over towards our group, and I'll suddenly see this kind of sparkle. And it's like someone throwing a net all around us and around each individual person. And they start to work with the aura. And they keep talking about the aura right now. They're in the process. It's coming through me like, why is the aura so important? But that, we have all different layers to our light body, and they can all be affected by everything, every wiring, every toxic thought we have or whatever. But they're like, just go to the aura, just go to the aura. So when you have something come in your life and you feel like that it's magic and it's too good to be true, what if it's waiting for you, but everything has to fall apart in your life and you have to go take a step into the unknown? And most people don't want to do that, but spirit speaks that way. And so the goal that draws us forward, like dolphins, well, I didn't even get here because I knew there were dolphins here. I had no idea you could kiss dolphins. I didn't have a clue. And I I love the space and the people, and we're in the fresh ocean water, and there's so many specifics energetically about this particular place and the people and the way they are. And I know a lot of the dolphins now for almost 6, 7 years. One, my favorite dolphin just passed last year, and now she's showing up as like a giant angelic dolphin
Mm.
over me in a lot of my sessions with my clients. There's a little baby dolphin over there in a new place so that we can't, they're not officially open yet, but I got to meet her and she started to channel through me. Her name is Perseus, which you know is a Greek hero and a man's name, but it's a baby girl. And she came through and said, well, yes, I'm here to tell you you're on the hero's journey. And that just like me, they named me Perseus. And I said to them, you do know in Spanish, you do know that's a man's name. And they're like, yeah, it's a dolphin. And I thought, well, interesting, gender fluidity already here, right? But she started to tell me I had to be here. I had to connect to that lady, the one that started it. And they came and they said, in order for us to help humanity get to the next level and have what's happening right now. So this was 30, 40 years ago that they told her. And I did my first one 28 years ago, my first wild dolphin swim. And so they have been calling because once they entangle with us, whether you touch them, you can't touch wild dolphins, okay? You're not supposed to, okay? And they're doing some protective measures in places that's happened. The difference is these dolphins are ones that have asked to be here. And I've gotten to know them. They come and talk to me a lot. When I go over there, I go out at night because you can see them at night. You can sit in restaurants right around them. There they are. Hi, how's it going? And I heart to heart weave with them, and I weave with the moon and bring that in. And they teach us about the water. The water is held by the earth. The earth is full of the crystals. The crystals are sending frequencies to the roots. The roots are sending frequencies up into the trees and into all the animals and everything is a part of earth life force energy. And they are the keepers of this net, this to keep bringing, but it's kind of like the net's coming up from the bottom. And we got to get, like, everybody's got to get up out of that level, right? We've got to come into unity consciousness. So they know the joy that they bring. They're able to bring people to joy. And we go 3 days on my retreats because then each day you get into a state and a frequency of joy, which is an extremely high frequency. It's very close to enlightenment. And you're not there by any effort. And you're having fun and you're laughing and you cannot be upset. You cannot be magnetically attached to any of your fears. So they can do this insanely fast work with you, but they're always doing it in what's optimal for you. They're not just like, oh, let's just hack it up and then they'll suffer. But your stuff comes up and then the waters are there healing. So they want you to be either seeing them, dreaming them, looking at pictures of them. Go to YouTube and watch beautiful videos of dolphins. Let them speak to you in whatever way they can. But they are the masters of energy medicine. They scan you. They are, especially if you come and do like with us, if you kiss any of them or you're with them in the water, you're part of their pod, they stay with you. The pod I swam with were Atlantic spotted dolphins. And that was, almost 30 years ago when I had my daughter in my belly, and I'm still part of their pod. They will come through. So it's just another part of the network of support of all of the spirit guidance that we have. But the dolphins they instill joy. Very few people hate dolphins.
Actually, as you were sharing the story, I remember this one vacation, the only vacation I've had as a child. We went to Odessa, which is in Ukraine. And I remember we took a picture with this like inflatable dolphin. Even though it wasn't a real dolphin, just every time I looked at that picture, I feel like I just felt this light, this joy. And you're right, every time I looked at it, it made me smile. And it was in such a like dark time of my evolution that I believe that some of that had to do with, to keep me going.
Yeah.
I do want to ask a question because I was
Mhm.
reading about this gentleman that had performed 130 births in the water with the
Oh,
dolphins the natural way. Can you share some experiences that you've maybe heard or
oh, amazing. Yeah, I was hoping to do that too, but some complications happened. Yeah, water birth for starters is by far the number one best way to have a baby. They're coming from water into water. And I know that that's kind of unusual, but you can do it. There's places you can rent like a blow up hot tub type of thing. They bring it to your house. You can have a midwife there. But there are, and I don't know where they are right now, but there are very, very few and places where you can actually go into the ocean to have your baby. And again, if you think about, you are part of Earth, your body is a part of Earth. You go into the waters, they're held by Earth. So you're in the womb of Earth and the salt water and your womb water. And then, of course, with the dolphins. So, I mean, to me, it's like the ultimate. And they're like the best midwives ever, of course, if you have somebody there. But the fact that they can see everything that's happened, they're scanning you, they're talking to the baby, they're able to send frequencies, they echolocate, they send sonar messages. It's quite a profound idea.
Yeah, and I remember reading that they were like normally they would perform the births in the ocean or in the sea, and then there are many times that the dolphins would just come in and push them on the side, like we got this, and they actually perform the entire birth, which I'm like, I would love to see that. It just seems so
Yeah.
magical, and I think hopefully in the future there's something we can open up to more because a lot of the trauma and loss of our soul happens at birth because it's such a shock. Like we're a VIP service for 9 months and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, VIP service. I love it. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it makes
free food, free rent, everything is VIP when you're in the belly, and then boom. you have to-
Well, you're somewhere warm with someone holding you that loves you, and the thing is like I'm still shocked. I know I've been a healer for a long time, but we have scientific studies that show what a healing environment is, and a hospital is not it in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing healing about the environment of a hospital. It's so sterile, it's so official, it's so loud, it's just so disrespectful of everyone. No matter what you're there for, right?
Mm,
So, don't feel upset if you can't go have your baby in the ocean. It's just that together, consciously, we have to start to acknowledge that, the idea that you take a baby and you stick it in a room all by itself down the hall and you let it scream itself to sleep
isolation, yeah.
is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I watch animals. They don't do that. They're all sleeping in a pile. I have a cat and two babies that showed up at my door that I've been feeding and socializing, and they're sleeping in a pile. They're on top of each other all the time. We know that being held and loved gives you nurturing. So the dolphins do this as energetically, and they do it by they're showing me right now that they said that they're tightening the net, so then they throw this kind of crystalline net around us into our auric field. They're sort of tightening it up because you just have to invite them in. Okay, they're happy to work with you in spirit. There's so many levels of dolphins. I'm just actually blown away. I'm actually making a book about it right now. Maybe that's the eighth book you talked about.
Yeah, so no,
um,
like 8 books. I'm like, I'm seeing 7. I'm looking at 7, but I'm saying 8. So I
Exactly.
usually
I
see.
I saw here, I was like, okay, that's good. That sounds good. But yeah, so dolphins are just they're very magical. And if you get the scale of consciousness, we've got it in the shop. You just have to, it's free. You just see where joy is. And if they're masters, okay, if they're masters of their multidimensional being, they know that they're over here doing this while they're doing this, while they're in their 3D body. They can, scan anything. They've got the whole oceans, and those are connected. Water, even though it's salt water and other waters, they're connected as well. And they do always tell us to focus down, spiraling through the waters into the earth, and then coming back up like they do. They play going down, but they
Mm.
play all the time. It's their number one thing. And they have sex about 60% too of the time.
We can learn a lot from dolphins. Play and make love. I
Yeah.
mean, that is
Play and make love and just,
we can
don't
ascend
take
that way.
anything seriously. Exactly. You think like, we're not really meant to work hard. And I've
No.
spent a lot of time around them, and it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating and fun. And they're so interactive. Okay, I will share one quick story. So when I was in New Mexico and having my breakdown and my awakening and my getting on my spiritual path and working with animals, a friend of mine said, I'm going to go through the docent program at the zoo, at the Albuquerque Zoo. And it was 4-month program where you went, I think twice a week, I can't remember, to the zoo, and you worked with one particular person. So the cat guy, and you got to go behind the scenes and learn about the cats and see them. They didn't let us touch cats. I was a little upset, but we got to hold snakes, and we got to, pet alpacas, and we got to learn about all the different species. And then we could volunteer. So I used to go walk alpacas so people could pet them. And they had a beautiful zoo. They had white tigers, I love cats. And they lived down in this huge, amazing thing with waterfalls. And, it was quite nice. But every time I went to work, I would come or volunteer, I would leave, I would go talk to them. And I would sit there and I'd start getting dreamy and imagine I was kissing their faces and rolling around with them and I'm watching them. But I am pouring pity. I am pouring sadness at the same time that I'm loving them. The same time I'm feeling this is terrible. They're in captivity and I love you, but this is so terrible what humans are doing. And so I was doing all of this animal communication and all this animal healing work. And I was being healed by the animals that I was taking care of in my business every day, my pet sitting business and buffaloes and everything. And 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 yet there I was. So how much was it helping? Because my love was there, but also my sorrow and my guilt and my pain and all of this judgment. And so I'm just sitting there. I didn't even realize, and they just whack-a-doodle just came right in my head, like somebody shouting, please cut it out. Okay. And then they just proceeded to blah, blah, blah. Now I had been doing animal communication, practicing, learning, and doing things, but I had never had anything come through like this. And it was like somebody's loud voice in my head. And they were like, please stop doing that. Do you think sending us that energy and seeing us as a victim is helping us? Don't you realize that's an energy? You can't send pity energy to somebody and think that you're helping them. And they went on and they told me this whole thing is as soon as you see someone as a victim, then you disempower them. You're not sending them strength. You're not sending them respect. You're not sending them, wow, way to go. I don't know what soul journey you're on, but dang, you picked a big one and I'm here if you need me. But when you see any person, any animal, any life form as a victim, and it's not to say some people aren't doing nice things to other people. Yes, this is true. However, step back from the story because they said the minute you realize everything is energy, you got to change what you're thinking and you got to go down into that well to see where are you feeling like a victim? Where are you blaming somewhere else? Where are you still attached to something that you can't free yourself? You can't grow into your magnificent soul. You can't start using all of your psychic and intuitive clairescences and all of these different things. You're never going to really hear your inner voice and get on that path of your soul unless you go in to these parts that still see that. Because if you see that victim in someone else, then you're seeing it in yourself. And it's coming through in ways you may not be aware of. But they were adamant to never see anyone that way. Now, saying that, if your job is animal rescue, please don't stop. Okay. There's a difference between what's happening and what you're choosing to be involved with and what's the underlying spiritual energy of it. Okay. So my mother started a spay and neuter program in San Antonio, the first one ever. She had a little house on her back property where she did humane society cats and feral cats and mother things and socializing. So they're very involved in this rescue aspect. And that they give to wolf ranch rescues. And so this is a big part of our family. And yet I still learned you cannot see a single one of them, no matter if you like watching the dodo like I do and see these animal rescues, how terrible some of these animals were treated, but then they're found and they're loved and they're healed. And we get to see that regeneration and that trust come back. And we need to hold that space. We need to hold the space of, you're fine. I love you. I see you. I acknowledge what you're going through. I'm holding space because I know that you've got everything you need. And in that space, and if I see it in you, then I am acknowledging it in you, then I'm amplifying it in you, and you're going to see your way. You're going to find the purpose of what you're in, and you're going to find the next step.
So if you truly want to help someone, whether it's an animal, whether it's a tree, whether it's a human, see them in the best version, see them healed, see them joyful, see them at their best. And when you look at them through those eyes, they will see it in you and they'll become. And let's hold a space for each other because everything around is energy and everything communicates with us, not just trees and just animals, not just
Yeah.
everything talks to us. I
Yeah.
feel like this opens such a beautiful space for us to go even deeper.
To make sure you're comfortable, turn off your notifications on your phone, and start by taking a nice, slow, deep breath in through your nose
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for this amazing journey and for bringing the dolphin energy to connect with us. um, it's quite magical. The question that I have for you is for those who would love to experience the dolphin energy in person, do you facilitate anything like that?
Yes. So we have retreats. We also I do this for individuals, couples, small groups as well. So you don't have to come with a group of other people. But twice a year, next year, it'll be a little bit more. What we do is a dolphin healing Mayan magic retreat. So here in the Yucatan Peninsula, where there's a lot of Mayan sacred sites, there's caves with water, sacred waters, there's ceremony people, there's all kinds of amazing energies and vortexes. And we also have a beautiful healing place in the ocean where we can work with the dolphins. So it's really beautiful because these are dolphins I've worked with for a long time now, about 6, 7 years, and different ones. Some of them move around, but they have chosen to be there. They are full of love. They are fun to play with. We get to play with them. We get to kiss them. We get to do third eye activations with them. We do heart to heart weaving. We do heart to heart touching. We get to touch and hold their hearts while we're putting ours next to them. And we build this beautiful relationship by going there 3 different afternoons. In between that, I do activations and healings. We go to sacred sites, ruins, do activations. Sometimes iguanas come out and talk to us, and other magical beings like bats. Or one time we were at the top of a pyramid on the equinox, and I led a activation, and we all came back and opened our eyes, and a tarantula had crawled into the center of our circle and died.
Wow.
So I know it's a pretty profound sign, right? Symbol, There was a bat that came out and hung off of the descending god temple in the middle of the day. Um, Swarms of dragonflies around us, and birds that tone with us, and we say Om, and they say Om, and we go into these sacred caves, and we do ceremonies with beautiful different Mayan and Aztec ceremony people, and we have cacao spas, and we open the heart, and the whole thing is a cocoon. So the dolphins are an important part of it, and they started out being the reason that I started doing them, and they've become a bigger piece of it because of the need for us to get in the waters. This heals heart, soul, relationships, pain. People come after a death in their family. People come after a massive breakdown in their identity, or maybe a loss. People come when they're ready for something new, or they feel stuck, because the dolphins work with your body. They rewire your energy field, your chakras, and your other parts of your energy field. And then they also take us, they put this net of light around us, and they take us to places that are going that are aligned with our soul, but maybe we can't get to because they're a higher frequency being. So it's a lot of fun, and it's paradise.
Mm.
So yeah, we
So
do those retreats, and we also do online ceremonies, and I also teach a lot of this as well. So there's a beautiful dolphin recalibration audio that you get if you decide to come to a retreat, or you can get that individually. And I think you had talked about the sounds, the dolphin sounds, and how they do something specific to you. And I did that too. I wove these together in and out of a channeled message from them that is such a powerful healing. It's about 30 minutes. And I started giving it to the retreat people before the March retreat. And one lady said that she healed all the reasons she was coming. She was flying all the way from Australia. Like 3 weeks before, decided, oh, I have to be there. And she did that recalibration audio that about a week before the retreat, she contacted me and said, well, all of the issues I had that I thought I needed the dolphins for are already solved. And she still wanted to come. But what was fun was then she had the opportunity to go deeper. And now she's coming back again for this next one. And she's continuing to use that every day. So yeah,
mm.
allow them all to come into your life, and make sure we have lots of free goodies and lots of other ways to support you. And there's a whole dolphin healing list on my YouTube channel.
Beautiful. And come into the dolphin world and let those sounds activate and empower those things within you. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience?
Let's see. But yes, I understand. Okay. So, interesting. So this is very different. What I'm being shown is a heart, and it looks like a pink heart, like a cutout heart. But the bottom of it is going into like a dark cloud or a dark layer, and then that layer turns into beads, uh, like a bracelet, like circular beads, and they're obsidian. They're this black stone that was sacred to the Mayan and the Aztecs. They used it in many, many ways, and is one of the most powerful healers, protectors, and removers of dark energy. And they're showing that they want to come into your heart. The obsidian realm is steeped in mystery and magic, filled with Mayan magic, and it also holds this power to absorb the very deep, wounded, painful, sensitive. That's the word. Super sensitive, like when something's super infected and swollen, and it's so sensitive you can barely breathe on it. They're showing that's at the tip of the heart. And so they're wrapping a band of these beads of obsidian energy. These seem to be mind beads. I have these. I also, some people bought them at the last retreat. And they're circling around the bottom part of your heart center. Now they are showing me that you can tighten it like a bracelet, that you just pull these two little strands at the bottom. You can tighten it, and it's going to work for you. So as you repeat these processes, as you go through this next journey, now watch, because this is a gift from the earth. This is a gift from the crystal realms and the ancient Maya as well. And there's a very important guide that's with you. Each person has an individual different guide, but you want to be aware of it, because it is now telling you that it's time to accept this help for healing the heart, so that you can squeeze out or reveal, absorb, and release the last of those truly dark, sticky energies. And this will be an opportunity for you to receive more love from the other crystal kingdoms, like the rose quartz, from the other animals and the other fellow travelers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So remember that you have support, you have this guidance, whether you have a piece of obsidian with you. I have so much of it, it's ridiculous, it's everywhere. Um, or not, you can call on the energies, the essence, the being of obsidian. You could call on the aspects of it that are healing and nourishing for your heart. We've even had people put it on their faces and draw bruises out. It's extremely protective. I actually have it on here. I never am not wearing mine in some form. This one happens to be a Hunabku symbol. It's a Mayan symbol for the one God. It's like you can't really tell. It's like a really
Hmm.
awesome yin yang. And I have other ones with jaguar and so on. And it's with me all the time. And then I go in the ocean, and then it is cleansed. So that is one of the beautiful guides that wanted to come through for you.
Thank you. What a beautiful channeling for the collective. I literally saw all of that happening as we're speaking. And that is one thing I want to share, even though it might seem like you're listening to a conversation. I came in with an entourage, Nan came in with her entourage, and as they both connected, there was so much done during this time on a multidimensional level. And if you're listening to this and you're already sensing something different within your field, that means this medicine was for you. And if you feel called to listen to it again, then do so, because your heart will always guide you in the right direction. And if Nan is your person and just want to envelop in her nurturing, loving godmother arms and world, then please follow the link below and get in touch with her and continue your journey if she's the person for you. Thank you so much. Beautiful Dolphin Whisperer. Thank you for bringing your entourage and all the beautiful beings that are here to help us in this ascension process.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this and letting us play together. Namaste.
Namaste. And so it is.